Hello, my name is Javier Jaimes Rodriguez, a member of the Kuroshima Island Renewables Integration Nexus, or KIRIN for short. As the name suggests, our team aims to integrate renewable energy into the energy sector of Kuroshima Island, currently propagated by diesel generators. After much consideration, we found a solution, and today I'll be working you through our design process to better understand its implications. As a metric, our team devised 7 objectives to accurately measure the success of our system. The first is a reliable system. A high-risk system is also highly undesirable for all parties involved, exacerbated by the island's vulnerability to outages caused by the typhoons. As such, the system should also be affordable enough to properly substitute the diesel-powered generators. Inclement weather can prevent the procurement of important fuel, prompting our team to focus on a resilient system. Additionally, this is an island. The community is close and their full engagement is vital for the success of the project. Their engagement will ensure that this system adapts to the way of life and does not obstruct. Finally, with careful planning, the system can be expanded in the case that the population does grow. With our objectives clearly defined, our scope for the project narrows significantly. Our first consideration was the scale of the project itself. What exactly is the energy consumption patterns of the Kuroshima Islands? Given that the last official record was from a decade ago, we turned to the Okinawa Electric Company, as the Kuroshima Islands are part of the Okinawa district. From its data, we can conclude an average conservative amount of 237.43 kilowatts hourly. This takes into account all residents and tourists as well as growth over the years. We chose an array of 5 options of renewable energy. This would include solar power, wind power, hydropower, geothermal power, and bioorganic power. Incorporating either all or one is a heavy-handed approach, so with a chart of constraints, we were able to determine the weights for each constraint, finding that adaptability to be the most important of the constraints, as it should adhere to the natural climate and layout of the land of the island, as well as the cultural values of the community, followed by the reliability against typhoons and as well as community resilience against these natural disasters. Taking all this into account, biomass and hydroelectric power have the strengths to suit these constraints of the project. As such, we move forward with a combination of both systems. Taking into account the importance of an adaptable and reliable structure of energy, biomass is specifically strong in these areas as it has a unique form of storage. It's an extension of ancient energy production techniques with the combustion of organic matter to be converted into heat. Not only is the matter itself a battery of sorts that is consumed at the leisure, but can also be converted into fuel alternatives. Either as a gas or a liquid, biomass can be canister and easily stored for use with residential applications as well as industrial. This also addresses that there will be reserves in the case of inclement weather such as typhoons, and presents auxiliary power for the usage of the island. As for hydropower, any and all excess from the system is ported to an onshore battery. Our system is comprised of 2 main components that work in tandem. Offshore, a buoy will float away from the several ecosystems present on Kuroshima Island as to not disturb the coral reefs or the natural pastures of the animals. Each will be placed to hang near the naturally existing currents of water. This will help the buoys to fully harness the power of the naturally occurring waves. Onshore, farmers will have access to digesters and a myriad of other equipment needed to convert waste into energy, and this equipment will be given out on a case-by-case basis. With this, the buoy will constantly produce energy. Meanwhile, the biomass is kept in a reserve state to be distributed by the Resident Agriculture Collective to the residents and for selling. With material selection, it becomes a straightforward process as to where our priorities lie. With the buoy adrift in seawater, it needs a structure that will resist the natural salts occurring in the water. A normal harbor buoy often uses marine-grade aluminum for submerged sections and a stainless steel shell for the above-water sections. The marine-grade aluminum works as it introduces different metals, converting it into an alloy rather than a pure aluminium shell. This should reinforce the buoy in a cost-effective way, combined with a stainless steel. The digester, on the other hand, will also need to withstand the humidity from the island and its climate. For the inner lining, there will be a lining of plastic reinforced with fiberglass that will protect against the corrosion from regular usage, and a concrete exterior for a cost-effective solution to the housing of the biomass. Our plans for the system is to focus on the selling of the energy rather than a rising demand, and this is a result of the island being a small set landmass with no real prospects of growth. With the ratio of cows to resident, it would be wise to move our energy sector profits towards the biomass portion of the island. Its waste alone from cows is sufficient enough to power the island. As such, our team plans to take advantage of the ferrying to sell excess bioenergy. However, this is dependent on the surplus available in conjunction to any additional buoys that are circling the island. The cost of a buoy wave converter is not cheap, as it will be in the millions, given it is an experimental technology, but it does have great prospects given its ability to change wave energy into mechanical power and in turn energy. This cost also exists in the context of the energy surplus these wave converters would create given the specifications of the product. This same principle applies to biomass. To set up on multiple farms will cost another $1 million, totaling to $4 million with both setups, or around 620 million yen. However, this includes the initial operation costs and maintenance setup, which from that point on is fractional and infrequent compared to the upfront cost. To take care of this cost, we thankfully have the Japanese policy support. Recently, the Japanese government has joined a movement to transition and decarbonize regions all over the Japanese nation. This is a fund totaling to 150 trillion yen with 20 trillion yen bond allocations. This more than covers the amount needed for both systems, and it also creates a project timeline which spans a decade, allowing for the buoy to move from its experimental phase to a more field-ready and commercially available phase. Following the same plan as the funding, farmers will be trained to directly deposit and output biomass in accordance with their farms, crops, and livestock. This promotes efficiency and engagement with the system by the community. We will work with the agrarian organization of the island to conduct this training. This will centralize knowledge and regulate the certifications for operators. Following extensive training under bioenergy, they can then be transferred to oversee wave energy and train residents who are either incapable or unwilling to engage with bioorganic energy management. To summarize our findings of this project, this system has a great untapped potential. The Kuroshima Island is reliant on a dated technology of diesel generators to function even in inclement weather. Despite the efforts of others before us implementing solar and wind energy, only half of the demand was met, and has yet to be entirely met by renewable energy. Solar and wind would likely struggle at times of deficit for either source. In typhoons, the solar power would be unable to be produced, and wind would either be damaged to the turbines, or in seasons of no wind, no constant energy input. The island must move forward with a sustainable and reliable system away from its past and into the future of an abundant, locally sourced staples of the island. Water is an abundant resource for the islands of Kuroshima. Although there are no rivers and there are no practical applications for the beaches to be harnessed for tidal power, given the proximity of coral reefs, water still surrounds the island on all sides. Harnessing the waves of these deeper oceanic waters is the natural choice, taking hydroelectricity into account. It's a constant influx of power as the ocean shows no sign of sea levels dropping, and in addition it complements the culture and geography for the previously discussed constraints. The Kuroshio current and countercurrent exist outside of the borders of the Kuroshima Island, and as such are our main source of this ocean energy. They produce waves of 0.75 meters every 7 seconds, which is the allowable range for the buoy to operate, with a maximum height of 8 meters to withstand any potential increases from typhoons. With this proper intake of waves, the buoy is able to operate and output 300 kilowatt hours of electricity, safely meeting the demand and peak demands of the Kuroshima Islands. Strategic placing along these currents promotes the sustainability and the scalability of the design, as well as keeps it away from danger zones that would either inhibit the ecosystem from flourishing or posing as obstacles for traveling ships. Cows are also abundant and overabundant in this case of the island. They outnumber the residents, and as such, their waste is an untapped source of power. And in its current state, it is only advantageous to the agriculture population of the island. Instead of keeping generators as backup power or primary sources of power, biomass can replace this function entirely, as it is a tangible fuel source. 3,000 cows can produce enough power for the island if all their waste is used. So why not profit further from the sector if it is to work in conjunction with hydroelectricity? By taking fractional appropriation thanks to our output of hydroelectric power, these types of waste can benefit everyone as to not overburden the agricultural sector, leaving no fertilizer for the farmers to use, or the burden on the land to output enough biomass to properly power the island. To conclude, I ask that the residents and any of those involved to look to the island for the answer.
It has always been a figure of great respect for its people, and now it stands to provide with an existing design